What do you think about the crypto assets outside of Bitcoin, particularly with the interest you're seeing around Ethereum and the prospect of an Ethereum ETF?
Yeah, I think that's the next big question for the community. Will Ethereum ETF get through? I know it doesn't feel like the SEC is making it easy. Are we, the same logic that the Bitcoin ETF got through on, which was there's already a futures ETF. If you believed in that, how dare you not believe in a cash ETF? Holds for Ethereum. And so my bias is it gets through sometime this year, probably the first time in the history of Bitcoin that we have true price discovery. And what I mean by that is this is the first time that anyone who wants to buy it has easy access to buy it.
The well-known supporter of cryptocurrencies and billionaire investor Novogratz shared his forecasts for an approaching surge of institutional demand for the freshly authorized spot Bitcoin ETFs in an interview that aired on Bloomberg television. He highlights an interesting trend among older investors, pointing to their increased confidence in well-known companies like Fidelity and other companies that are providing these innovative investment solutions based on Bitcoin. Novogratz predicts a dramatic change in the market as these investors, especially those from the powerful baby boomer generation who own an incredible $100 trillion in wealth, turn to Bitcoin. The visionary CEO speculates that a substantial portion, potentially soaring to $2.5 trillion, will flow into the cryptocurrency in the coming weeks and months. Although there is growing hope that Bitcoin prices would rise before the year ends, Novogratz admits it is difficult to forecast the boundaries of this extraordinary excitement. He navigates the nuances of this pivotal junction, offering a warning on possible sell-offs along the way, and leaves us to wonder where Bitcoin will go in the changing institutional investing scene.
Probably the first time in the history of Bitcoin that we have true price discovery. And what I mean by that is this is the first time that anyone who wants to buy it has easy access to buy it. And so, right, baby boomers have $85 trillion of wealth. Their wealth is, for the most part, managed through registered investment advisors who now, at least half of them or some portion of them can just buy the ETF. And so you're seeing, a step function in new owners of Bitcoin, which is driving, I would say, a frenzy in the whole crypto ecosystem, right? So how crypto always works is Bitcoin gets bought and some people sell a little bit to buy Ethereum and they try to play the catch-ups and the altcoins. And I would say we've gotten to very frothy levels. You can see it in the funding rates of the altcoin market, how much you get paid to actually lend out your coins in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the alts. And so you saw it in the equities, the public equity markets, right? MicroStrategy, Marathon, all the kind of public equity bellwethers really went parabolic along with Bitcoin. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see some correction and some consolidation. But I'm very loath to pick a Bitcoin high because I really do believe this is price discovery. Will we test the old high? Most likely. And you'll probably have some consolidation. But I still think we're going to end the year much higher. We broke out from 45,000, and so that would probably be what should hold us if there's a real correction. You never know why corrections come. Something happens and people shift mindset, and there's a lot of people that have bought recently. I don't think it'll get there, quite frankly. I think if it corrects, it probably corrects to the mid-50s before taking off to the new high. First the old high, that's 68, 69,000.
What do you think Bitcoin is a year from now?
Much higher. Listen, how do you put yardsticks around something? Right? We know gold is a $12 trillion asset. Bitcoin's about a tenth of gold. Could Bitcoin be half of gold? At one point, sure it could. It will be. And at one point, it will be larger than gold, right? Again, for every Charlie Munger, God rest his soul, who passes away, that money is finding its way into Gen Z and millennials. And they feel much more comfortable with digital gold than old clunky gold. I'm kind of halfway in between. I like a little of both. I got some gold coins that we give out on our podcast because it's, you can touch it. But I go to a lot more Bitcoin than I do gold. What has been unbelievably impressive about the core Bitcoin community is just how resilient they've been. Down, I remember doing an interview with you a year ago, at 18,000. And the core Bitcoiners just took pain. And so I don't think the core group of people that have owned this thing and really loved it and promoted it, there are no sellers there. Michael Saylor ain't selling. And the, new people are going to kind of ease in. Listen, I don't think you're buying it into your 401k and selling it a month later. right? And so most of this new money, I think, is going to be sticky money or hodler money in crypto terms. But the retail, the young speculation that's happening on, all the apps and on Robinhood and on Coinbase and everywhere else, that's going to have blow off tops and blow off bottoms, and people are going to get chopped up like they always do in speculative manias.
As we go further into the complex fundamentals of supply and demand for Bitcoin, Novogratz shares some insightful investing advice he learned from billionaire hedge fund manager Paul Tudor Jones. This enlightening statement addressed the much-discussed issue of whether the impending Bitcoin halving event is already included into market prices. Similar to the rumors surrounding Bitcoin ETFs before to their formal approval on January 10th, institutional investors' enormous demand spike from the previous year was undoubtedly overlooked. Furthermore, Novogratz highlights that the next Bitcoin halving is not yet considered in. Let's now go deeper into Novogratz's interview, learning about his opinions on Bitcoin ETFs on the spot, the possible 2024 release of an Ethereum ETF, and the crucial function that Bitcoin plays as a hedge against the impending collapse of the monetary system. Let's hear more from Novogratz as he continues to traverse the complex world of cryptocurrency investments and their significant influence on the future of finance, though, before we understand these intriguing insights.
There's a new army of buyers. There's an army of salespeople. I mean, what BlackRock is doing is breathtaking, right? That's an army of salespeople being endorsed by their CEOs saying, guys, this is an important part of the future. We didn't have that 6 months ago. And so I do think it's going to be hard to figure out where equilibrium is in the next 6 to 12 months. Before the halving, with that 60,000 Bitcoin, it's about $54 million a day of new supply, right? We have one customer who's one of the retail apps that pretty much buys $30 to $35 million a day just with us. And I'm sure we're not the only person they buy with, right? There is a tremendous global demand for Bitcoin. And so when you see what's driving the market day to day right now is at 8 o'clock at night, all the ETFs talk about how much they bought or sold, and it was $500 million or $400 million. As long as those numbers stay positive, you're going to see some momentum in Bitcoin. The first day they go negative, people are going to sell off Bitcoin because they think, the ETF funds are going to slow. And so that's kind of like the insider's way of looking at this in the short term. But that's a little myopic. Let's look each month at what the total flows into Bitcoin is from that ETF community plus other communities. After the halving, that 54 million goes to 27 million. I mean, that's bid-ask spread right now. And so there's just not a lot of supply. This is one of the least inflationary assets or most deflationary assets there is. It's why, when you see our government spending so much money, people are drawn to this narrative.
What do you think about the crypto assets outside of Bitcoin, particularly with the interest you're seeing around Ethereum and the prospect of an Ethereum ETF?
Yeah, I think that's the next big question for the community. Will Ethereum ETF get through? I know it doesn't feel like the SEC is making it easy. Are we, the same logic that the Bitcoin ETF got through on, which was there's already a futures ETF. If you believed in that, how dare you not believe in a cash ETF? Holds for Ethereum. And so my bias is it gets through sometime this year, but we'll see. Gary Gensler has been very careful about not declaring Ethereum a security. And you can have your own idea why. I'm sorry, not declaring Ethereum not a security. And you can have your own hypothesis why or why not. I would say it opens the gate if one proof of stake, crypto protocol like Ethereum is not a security. Well, what about the next one and the next one and the next one? And so all of a sudden his argument that these are all securities would probably go out the window. And so I'm sure there's a lot of internal to and fro around this question. But the reality is we already have an Ethereum futures ETF, and that was the logic that got the Bitcoin ETF approved. And so my bias is it happens.
What's the narrative about Bitcoin? What is
I think it's always been the same. It's in some ways it's a report card on fiscal prudence. It is a store of value. You can it's a debasement of currency, a hedge. And so I say this all the time. A house in America in 2011 cost $190,000. Today it's $400,000. That's the median house, right? So we have debased our currency. We've had asset inflation. At times we've had goods inflation. When you're printing as much money as we're printing, when we have constant now 5-6% of budget deficits, hard assets go up, and Bitcoin is a hard asset for the new generation. It is digital gold. And if you just keep on digital gold, this is why people are buying it. And that narrative is powerful. What would change that narrative, that adoption narrative? Well, we have a new president that probably not Biden or Trump, and he gets Congress to pass a balanced budget amendment or a Simpson-Bowles amendment, and we start trying to take that 130% of debt to GDP back to 80. Right now it's headed to 250. And so that is literally if you just look at the graph of debt to GDP in America and many other countries, and that is the advertisement for why people buy Bitcoin.
Mike Novogratz provides a thorough examination of the cryptocurrency market's present situation, as well as the variables that push Bitcoin. The author highlights the noteworthy transformation in the market, highlighting the rise of a strong force of purchasers and a corresponding army of sellers. The author especially praises BlackRock for its influential support of Bitcoin as a crucial component of the future. Novogratz emphasizes how the market is dynamic and credits ETF's transparency for the current upswing in Bitcoin prices. He observes that Bitcoin is expected to continue its upward trajectory as long as ETF figures are favorable. He advises against having short-term, narrow-minded views, instead advocating for a more comprehensive understanding of the monthly total inflows into Bitcoin via the ETF and other sources. When talking about the supply-demand dynamics of Bitcoin, Novogratz highlights how the impending halving event will result in a daily decrease in fresh supply, making Bitcoin one of the least inflationary or most deflationary assets. He highlights the limited availability of Bitcoin and discusses the possible effects of the decreased supply on the market. In addition, Novogratz discusses the potential for an Ethereum ETF and expresses hope despite the obstacles the SEC has put in the way. He examines the reasons for such acceptance and draws comparisons with the justification that led to the Bitcoin ETF's approval. Finally, Novogratz emphasizes the persistent theory that Bitcoin acts as a hedge against currency depreciation and a store of wealth. He contends that the attraction of Bitcoin, also known as digital gold, is rooted in its status as a tangible asset for the younger generation. One of the main factors influencing Bitcoin's ongoing popularity is the narrative that portrays it as a hedge against fiscal irresponsibility, asset inflation, and steadily rising budget deficits. In conclusion, Novogratz offers a comprehensive viewpoint on a range of cryptocurrency market aspects, including institutional participation, supply-demand dynamics, and the ongoing narrative that upholds Bitcoin's acceptance. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Until next time, happy investing.